Audio test, 1, 2.
I guess.
Other than that.
Oh, no, that puts that on my bookmark system. That's my proposal. Maybe go up, like in your little bar.
Okay, good stuff. I'll turn this back in.
Pretty good.
It looks beautiful. That's pretty good. Better than mine, right? I'll tell you that. It'll be better than Julie, it's good.
Weighs so much.
And
We got her small. I hope so. Sign one blank. Maybe go up to edit.
I guess no position in the back or in the desk or something. Used to see.
You might do it.
You see what my dad and Jimmy's name.
Oh, there's zoom in, zoom out. This is zoom in, zoom out.
Yeah, good.
I mean, that big is
Yeah, that's important too. It is.
Long line, I've been waiting to get in.
All right, Scott. Alright. Today I'd like to start with a moment of silence, if that'll be all right.
Scott, I'd like to add before we go to the pledge of allegiance, we got a good friend, Jerry Frazier, is in hospital with COVID. So we keep Jerry, know that Bradley Kane School, one of your thoughts and prayers we do.
Absolutely. Now if we can move to the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Good evening, board. You have before you the consent agenda. Would anybody like to add or remove anything from consent?
Yes, Chairman. I'd like to remove the the 2C.
Okay. Approval of overnight field trips, we'll move it down to the regular agenda above the director's update. Okay. Anything else?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to add on the regular agenda, Christmas bonuses.
Okay, we'll put that above Nate's, because that's probably.
You never know.
Maybe, okay, so that'll be the first thing on the regular agenda, Charlie. Nate, you'll be second on the overnight field trips. Any other changes to the consent agenda? If not, I need a motion to approve. Okay, Carolyn, made a motion.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous, thank you. All right, then we will go straight to Charlie. Mr. Moses.
I'd like to make a motion, I'm taking this down to near me, Joe. I'd like to make a motion to allow Christmas bonuses out of our budget expense to let all permanent, certified, and support employees $100 in recognition of the extremely hard work completed this first semester. Shall I get that, Joe? I need to go back.
Do you hear a second?
Second.
Okay, let's have any discussion. Board? Nate?
I'll start it out. This is a good thing, in my opinion. Our most valuable assets are employees. And even more so during this time of the pandemic, we need to let them know that tangibly. And I think this small token of appreciation will do that. You know, a building can go away and we can go to virtual school, but we can't do virtual school without our employees. So they're our most valuable assets. So I highly recommend that we move forward with this.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I think it's a great idea, wish we could do more.
Okay.
I agree with Nate, what he said, we can't do that. All of the employees. That's just a great idea. We appreciate everything they've done. Most of y'all have talked to some of the staff, secretaries, whatever. It's been very stressful on our employees. And I agree with Karen, I wish we could do more, but we're doing what we can right now.
Well, Dr. Dyer, you want to tell us why we can't do more?
Well, we were doing a lot, and this is a big step, and I wish we could do more. The total bill for this, I'm looking at Cindy, would be around $150,000. Is that correct? Or
130.
100?
If you add in child nutrition, then yeah, closer to 150.
So close to $150,000 for the budget item. In order to net our employees about it would be $100 net income coming home. And that's, you know, we wish we could do more from the overall budget, but that's significant. When you're going into the Christmas holidays, it can help in anything from buying some groceries or buying Christmas presents or paying a bill or whatever the case may be. And it's just a way to tangible things for our kids. They're working extremely hard. And I have said thank you a lot. I know you said thank you a lot, and so have committee members and principals and everyone else, but this is a tangible way to say thank you. And we wish everyone, you know, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and everything goes with that. So I'm glad that we're moving this way and hopefully get a vote in the affirmative for this.
And I think it would have been more money if we wanted to be $100
Right.
before, after taxes.
Yeah, you know, just as a reminder, taxes have to come out of anything that supply employees and in the government sector, so we do have to take taxes out to, so it's a little bit higher than $100, but to net $100, that's where we're going.
So would you explain how that works, Dr. Dyer? We don't have, if it's $138,000, obviously we don't have 1,138 employees, so what makes it cost so much?
Cindy, I'm gonna pull you up and talk a little details about school finance real quick, if you don't mind, if that's okay with you.
Yes, that's
Yes.
great.
So, when you pay a gross amount of salary to someone, which that person has to pay their part of the taxes. So, for the employee, because this is a bonus, we will take 25% federal income tax, then they'll pay Social Security and Medicare. On the flip side, then we have to match the Social Security and Medicare. And then we also have to pay retirement on that amount. So for certified staff, the retirement amount is 10.27%, and for support staff, it's 17.18%. So when you add that on top of the $150 that we would pay, it actually costs the school system $187.25. To pay the certified staff bonus, we have to up it 5% because they automatically pay in 5% to TCRS as a contribution. So that makes that $158 be $186.31 per person. And so by the time you add all of our employees in, we estimated about 450 certified staff, 189 support, and about 80 of the permanent part-time employees. So, and then your child nutrition staff.
So something that seems very simple is actually very complex, as most government actions are, and that's where this comes in.
So you're saying that they'll net, every employee will net at the very least $100.
Yes, ma'am.
Some might get $105 or.
We've got it almost down to
Down to
cents.
$100.
Cents.
Okay.
It looks like it's like about $100.48 for certified and about $100.35 for support. So we're getting it as close as we can.
So is this gonna be included in paychecks, Cindy, or how are you gonna?
We are planning to pay this on the 18th,
Mhm.
but it will be a separate deposit from their regular pay. So they'll see both amounts.
This is federal law, isn't it, that we have to do these taxes?
It's a bonus,
Yeah.
so you have to pay 25%.
Too bad they couldn't have thought about getting rid of that, because of all this COVID and everything that our teachers have done.
Back in the day, you could do gift cards, I mentioned that some of you can't do gift cards anymore because it's considered income. So there are a lot of different regulations in place, and this is a good thing to do. Wish we could do more, but as you hear, it's very complex, and it costs more to be able to, there's a price that you have to pay to do this, but it's well worth it.
The cost is almost double what we're
Right,
getting.
right, sure.
We got into this in a much smaller scale a few years ago when we did, this is when Brent Carson was still our business manager, when we were wanting to give each employee a $5 gift card to this little soft serve ice cream place across the street, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And she reminded us that it all has to be taxed and all of that. So for a $5 gift card, we just had to abandon the idea. We hadn't included all of the legalities.
Very complicated, and that's why we have Cindy and her department to keep us straight, and a great team of auditors.
Well, I don't know anybody that can't use $100, so I wish it was more as well.
Yeah.
Are there any more
Well,
comments,
I was
Krista?
just gonna comment too, the nice thing about it being a bonus this time of the year too, it also is gonna be a little bit of a boost to our local economy.
Right.
It's gonna be spent at our local grocery stores and gas stations and so forth, so it really, it benefits a lot more people than just the employees who are on here.
Good point. Anybody else? If not, we will take a vote. All those in favor for the Christmas bonus, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No.
I wish I could vote on that one too. But that's great, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Cindy, for all your hard work. All right, now we're gonna go to the field trips, and it had to do, the only overnight field trip we had there was the wrestling team.
Yes.
So you wanna talk about that?
So the overnight field trip request is actually no longer needed. That trip has been scaled down to what we learned today. It's just a day trip. Father Ryan, they had several wrestling teams that canceled, could not come to the tournament for whatever reason. So perfect timing actually, they got in touch with Coach Knox today. And they communicated to me that they will no longer need that overnight field trip. So there's no need to actually approve an overnight field trip for today's board meeting. So that's my update as far as that is concerned. They're still planning to attend, depending on where we are with COVID at that time and everything else. But that is the plan as of today.
Krista?
I have a question about the new form.
Yes, yes.
It seems to be missing a lot of key information that we used to get that I think is helpful, like names of the other chaperones, where they'll be staying, the cost, who's paying for it. Is there a way to still include that
We
information?
can get whatever you guys would like. And
If that's
maybe
something you guys think is important, I find it helpful to know that.
what I could ask is maybe for Julie to email you tomorrow and see what's not on there that you would like to see. And then we can create something to put whatever we need to on there. That's something we can do internally. We are using a new system, and I don't know all the ins and outs about it. I know Kyle Taylor is out there because it comes from transportation as a new program we're using to help actually route a lot of things. So it's really good for our use, but it is a little hard on, if you're not used to looking at it, like I'm not used to looking at it, and I got on there today looking at it, and it was a little complicated for me too. So we can definitely get Julie to do that tomorrow. I think that's easy enough. Make sure we get whatever you want to see, if that's okay with you guys.
Anything else, Krista? Anybody else? All right, we'll go to Dr. Dyer's update.
Okay, and it'll be up here on the screen. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. And this is a part of what we did earlier. You know, our employees are the absolute best. And I'm talking about from the AOB staff to the cafeteria staff to those working in classrooms, administrators, you name it. This semester has been the hardest semester I've ever worked in the field of education. And I think that would be true for just about anybody in this area. I think that's true for healthcare. I think it's true for our nurses. This has been very difficult, but here we are at the end of the first semester almost, and we've been able to maintain school in various forms. Education is still happening. high quality education is still happening. This week, we've been, either last week and this week, at middle school, has been more of a virtual type experience. But I'll tell you, anecdotal evidence that's coming in to Dr. Wayne and kind of filtering back to us for the most part, hearing good things. And many more families are getting online than were getting online for that one test day we did. That doesn't mean everything's perfect by any stretch. I would not tell you that. We do have things we need to continue to iron out and work on. In the field of technology, getting our laptops in. We talked about it, and we're getting closer to hopefully getting the middle school in tier and hopefully get the Chromebook order for elementary sometime early next year. But overall, it has been a really good year. I've walked the hallways in a lot of schools. I know Jeff has and others have too, and it's so impressive to see the work being accomplished, and it's very rewarding to watch the teachers interacting with the students and the students interacting with them and everybody else. So that's been really neat to see. As far as the portrait of a graduate, the Student Success Task Force, the work is very much underway. We've had a couple of meetings now with NIET, our partner in this. We're now to the point in the group where we're later this week having focus groups with groups of elementary educators, secondary educators, administrators, office staff here, to go work with NIET and really thinking about how we take our document from being the written document it is to the real life working plans of the school system. So we're taking this and we're going to bring it to life. And that's the whole plan, working with NIET, working with our staff, is how do we do what we said we're going to do, and how do we bring fidelity to it in a COVID world we're now living in. One day COVID will go away, but the school system and the strategic plan will still be here, and we need a plan for the future. How do we move our kids to that higher realm of academic learning, high quality instructional material, all those things that a lot of times can become buzzwords, but how do we actually do that? Our team does excellent work, Jeff and his group with academics, all the folks, Mike Carr's new data backwards and forwards, inside and out. We just have to make sure we're channeling this the right way to move us the direction we need to go, and we're going to do that. Do have an announcement regarding Cleveland Middle School. We have completed the interview process there. I say we, Dr. Wayne, her team have completed the interview process, and Kim Bradford has been, is being named the new assistant principal at Cleveland Middle School. She's currently the instructional facilitator at Stewart and done a fantastic job. I like to always talk with our new assistant principals before they're named, and had about a 20-minute conversation with her through Google Meet earlier today, and she's super excited to go there, and I know she's going to do a great job and bring a wealth of knowledge. She has good experience working with upper elementary kids, so she knows what it takes those kids to make that transition, and I know that she's going to be do a great job. Stephanie Burke will definitely be missed. I've already tried to talk her into substitute teaching. I don't think I got very far on that. So she knows the offers out there. Just some professional development things that I've attended since our last meeting. One was the Transformational Leadership Consortium with AASA. We had an online day and a half consortium. I didn't attend all of it because other things come up, but we were meeting with a school system up in New York, and they were taking us on virtual tours of their buildings and schools and programs, and really neat experience to be able to see what another school system's doing, and I didn't have to leave the office, but able to see what they're doing and ask questions. So that was good, and then actually Michael Kars was part of the leadership of the Leading and Learning at the top of the K-12 grade structure, and that was through TOS and ALI. So another good program that we had there. Tomorrow, Dr. Elliott and Ms. Bender will be leading a session with Rotary on literacy and what we're doing in the field of literacy in Cleveland City schools. We have a great partnership with Rotary. They provided grant money so we can make sure that we have books for our youngsters to take home at breaks. So that's been really good, and we thought that would be a good, usually when we go to Rotary, we're talking about CTE or we're talking about other things, but this time we're going to talk about literacy, and I'm going to kick it off with a little talk about portrait of the graduates, and then we'll hand it off to those two to talk about literacy and the things we're doing. It is by Zoom, so the link will be out there and everything. So we're going to be Zooming tomorrow for Rotary. Final thing I have for the update here is just a reminder that the final day of classes, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but regardless, the final day of classes And schools will be Friday the 18th before our next break. And just a reminder, we return on Tuesday, January the 5th. Hopefully all in person. So that's my report for tonight.
Anybody have any questions or comments? All right, you move on to policy, Dr. Ryan.
Okay, let me get caught up in my
No, that's not mine.
information. Yep.
You love this whole bunch of learning.
I do. We have policies. So the first of these, I'm sorry, question.
Tom and I had a discussion, we'd like to meet Kim Bradford, could she come to our January meeting so we could congratulate her?
I'm sure we could ask her to do that.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think that Principal Shelton's going to be very unhappy with you all.
Yeah, I haven't talked to her today, so I'm not gonna answer that phone call or anything.
I'd be absent.
Okay, well, we're gonna start off with policy 4.209, and that is the alternative credit options. And I'm gonna go through here, but Dr. Elliott is here. If you have any detailed questions, he and his team or whoever can get into this, but this is a brand new policy that will go into effect after the second reading, and it deals with everything from online courses to course access programs and such. You probably have read through this. You know, that we've got a lot of different details in here, but I can go through it, or I can just answer any questions, or we can answer any questions you might have. What would you prefer to do as part of that goes?
This is kind of a revolutionary new policy here.
It is, and we can go through it if you'd like some more details for it.
Yeah, let's go through it.
Okay. Dr. Elliott, would you mind stepping up and I can fill in some details to that as well?
Yeah, the main component about this is trying to open up opportunities for our high school students to receive post-secondary coursework and be able to take that while they're in high school, and even it's opened it up for 7th and 8th grade, where students who might be excelling in an area and that we don't offer that program, we can offer a program with a partnership with another institution, post-secondary institution. Now, what it would do though is, as you can see, we would work through that cooperation agreement, and then we would bring those agreements for board approval before we enter into those post-secondary institutions or online group. So if our high school is limited in these advanced type courses, then we can work with another institution to help provide those so that they can receive a credit to go beyond. We have families and students who come and say, well, we don't offer a certain maybe like foreign language or something of that nature. So we might say, well, we could maybe look and see if we can partner with another group to work that out. But then what we would do is get that approved and then work through that and then bring that for the board to approve, and then that partnership would be set up for us to be able to do. So that's kind of a general overview of what this is saying.
It sounds like this is just a more expansive opportunity than what, there has been some online opportunities at the high school already, like the personal finance and those types of classes. So is this just an expansion of that there's going to be almost like a carte blanche of whatever's out there we can draw from?
Yeah, it does that. We do some online, like you said, personal finance with our own people and everything. But if we find something that our people aren't able to offer, then we can work with another organization to do that and then pursue that if we need to. Now, the good thing about this is though, it does kind of expand that and open it, but it also still gives us control to make sure that the institute that we're wanting to partner, that we have kind of gone through it and vetted it ourselves a little bit to make sure that that's what we need to go with for our students.
Yeah, and I will add, part of this we've been doing, it just codifies it in policy. For example, I was talking to a young man last year, the high school that was wanting to take Japanese. Well, we don't offer that in our curriculum structure. There's not enough students to offer that. So this young man, he got approved to take a program via computer, and it was very successful for him. And we just approved that in here, but now this gives us the real structure to have formal partnerships with those groups or institutions and things.
And it also provides a little bit of flexibility for those students who not really, like one of the sections talked about, a legitimate reason to take this type of course that maybe we're prevented to offer. And it could come down to that senior year, you know, and it's not being offered due to our schedule or something, and it gives us an opportunity to work with that student to make sure that they get what they need.
So one thing, if a student moves into Cleveland High School, their sophomore, junior year, they had 1 year Latin, they want to take another year Latin. I'm sorry, you can't get off of that, so they could do this.
That's a great example. We already have, an example is currently, and we already had it in place because of our virtual school program, Florida Virtual School. We had a student who transferred in who had American Sign Language, 1 credit from another school. Well, we don't traditionally offer that. However, we have been able to work it out because we have it in Florida Virtual School and it's already there. But that flexibility, they were able to take American Sign Language too, in a personalized setting. So that was already in place, but that's exactly the kind of thing that happened.
I think Skylar has some comment.
I know I can't vote on these things, but I want to say that this has affected me personally, especially since I was the last German class that Frau Dale, whenever we still had her, actually went through, and I really wanted to continue. I even went to Germany, but I couldn't because the school didn't offer it, and I couldn't take it online because Edgenuity didn't offer it, which is our current online program. Right now, I'm studying Physics 1, the advanced placement version, just because we didn't offer it this year because not a lot of the students have requested to take it. So it's just students like me who are really trying to fit all this stuff into their schedule, but who just don't offer it.
So you like this?
I absolutely like this, yes. I know I can't vote on this.
And I think that's a great example. I mean, that's exactly what we're trying to do with this. Plus, for the other side of things, for students that are expelled, that may need some sort of other type of online environment, this would be really good for them too. So there's a lot of different things that we could do with this policy. But I do like it that it puts a structure to it that the partnership is required approval. I think that's good.
Okay, well, we will, any more questions for Dr. Elliott on this policy? We'll do all the policies and then.
Don't look at yourself, you're probably up next to you.
Okay, Dr. Dyer.
All right, the next policy is 4.400, which is instructional materials, instructional resources and materials. And you'll notice the old policy is being taken out. And there's a new policy that's much longer that's going in. And this is built on a lot of new Tennessee state regulations, Tennessee School Board, those kind of things that are coming into play here. It talks about selection. The State Textbook Commission really works hard to select the books and curriculum that we get to choose from as a school system, subject to approval by the board. Of course, it goes that way. If we don't, for example, if there's a certain math curriculum that we really like that wasn't approved by the state, there is a way to do a waiver request to the commissioner for that. So if we're using one series of math, but the state says that's not what they approved, but we really like it and the board approves it here, we can still seek a waiver to use that math curriculum if we chose to do so. A lot of this are things that we've been doing for a long time. We have a textbook committee here. We have a way for parents to come in and look at curriculum and do that. Honestly, not many do, but there's a way, and we advertise it out for parents that want to do that or see it. Jeff, is there anything else that you would want to mention about this or any questions for members have?
Just a couple of things. The last few years, what we have done is posted the resources that we're narrowing it down to for adoption on our website, and then we make it available either here or at the Denning Center or back in the day at the Star Center for public parents to stop by. And again, we've had few, but we've made it available and we make it public in that regard. We've also included in the last couple of years some parent sessions for anybody. We had a parent committee who came in and kind of bounced some ideas off of about our curriculum. I will say the other piece here is kind of new that we will have to put into place here is a parent agreement for when we issue a textbook at the beginning of the year. The parents sign off that they understand that it is the property of our school system and that they're responsible, their student is responsible for it and making sure it returns back in good condition. And so that will be something that will be implemented into the process of beginning of the year when students come to school. The parents will need to fill out this agreement. That's the other piece.
Questions, comments?
Do the laptops fall under this in terms of instructional materials, or is that a separate part?
I see that as separate, instructional facility, in my opinion, curriculum would be workbooks we may use, materials such as that, those kind of resources we use that are consumable or maybe more paper driven. That's,
Manipulatives for math that might go home, book reading kits, those kind of things, instructional materials and textbooks. And we work in a different avenue with the technology piece and the play procedures that we have in place.
Well,
The parents sign a form, so they don't turn it back in, they're responsible for it, correct? Yes. I know Mike, when I was assistant principal, that was always the trouble getting books back, so they will financially be responsible for it.
right, and Chuck Cagle has said it before, there are two things where you can legally hold a transcript or a diploma. Textbooks, library books, those kind of things are actually something that somebody does not return or replace. Those are kind of items where you could potentially hold on to a diploma or a transcript until that is paid for.
That's very good.
I noticed, Dr. Dyer, you said you could apply for a waiver, but the policy says the waiver has to be approved.
Right.
So you
Right.
can't move on with it.
No,
It still has to have a permission process.
it would be very unwise to purchase before you get the waiver. That's correct. That is correct.
Any other questions on this one? Okay.
Okay. 4.603 is the next, promotion and retention. Very few well, there are some changes here. You see in the middle, students that have difficulty in achieving the requirements for promotion may be considered for retention. This puts a date on it. So, school shall identify these students by February the 1st. Now, that's fairly early, but it gives families a lot of notice that unless things change, your student may be back in 7th grade again, for example. When you go down to line 24, you can see some things have been marked out as far as the old policy. And it gives us some reasons for retention after the February 1st deadline. There's a delay in identifying the student due to several reasons there, enrollment, things such as that. They come in late, whatever the case may be. When you move down to the second page, line 13 through 18, K-3 reading notification. This is something we've been doing, but this puts it in policy now. That we determined through our overall assessments that a student from kindergarten through 3 is not meeting grade level standards in reading. Parents shall be notified within 15 calendar days of such determination. So we've been doing this, but this just puts it in writing that we will continue to do this, basically. So we want to make sure that families are aware that if they're not up to speed by 3rd grade or in those early childhood years, that they know, because parents may want to get some extra help or tutoring or whatever the case may be as far as that goes. Going down to retention, it talks about 10 calendar days as far as putting that in for what we're looking for as far as getting some notifications out. Also, you can see in the retention, the different strategies. You'll get number 4 there, modification to the student's classroom assignment to ensure students receive instruction from the teacher with overall effectiveness of above expectation, which is level 4, or level 5, which is even higher. So, you want to make sure that a student is struggling, has the opportunity to be put in a teacher's classroom that is shown through testing, which right now is a little bit of a problem, right? Or evaluations to have an overall effectiveness score that's fairly high and has been proven to be effective. Y'all have anything else in there that is there anything else you need to pull out, or any other questions from board members?
I wonder, do you have a lot of retentions now?
Very few. The research is still out there. That retention is really not the absolute best way to help students succeed. I mean, sometimes you have different factors to play in where you really need to. I think that's more important for probably early childhood, in those early years than later years. But there are definitely times when retention is going to happen, but it's not often.
I think if a child is going to be retained, it needs to be in early childhood, K1 and 2.
And of course, we offer programs during the summer to help students that are behind to catch up. You know, that's one of the things that we're working, in fact, well, off topic here, but that's something that hopefully the state's going to be working on as far as their budget. You know, the commissioner mentioned on Friday, they're looking at money to go toward K-8 enrichment for the next couple of summers because they understand COVID has put us behind. So hopefully we're going to see money coming in to help us do more of that work.
Can I go back to that alternative credit option and ask a question about it?
Certainly.
My question is, if a student, since we have 2 semesters in the whole year will be in the whole block, if a student failed a class in that first block, could they repeat it online? Because that is a scheduling conflict and it's not offered again.
I'd have to look at that, and I think we have to get all of her team to look at it, so Brian look at that too, but that could potentially be an option. You know, they failed English first semester, could they take English online doing a accredited program second semester on top of the classes they're already taking, which would be a big load of classes.
Yeah.
But I guess that could potentially be something. I would hate to tell you that we learn now until we get maybe some of the high school counselors and just the Ryan and get some input on that.
That would be a big help to students because they wouldn't have to go to summer school or repeat it the next year.
Could be. Of course, if they weren't successful that first time, and then you add on top of their full courses already, that could be a struggle too. But that's something we can definitely take a look at.
If they had a study hall or something like that, it'd be easy
Be
to
something
do.
we
It
can-
would be offered at that time.
Right. I'm not gonna say no right now because I don't know, but we can definitely find out if that's something, if that's an option. Okay. Next is 6.3041, which is one you recently looked at actually. But after going to several trainings with Chuck Hagel and TSBA, we realized we need to make a little addition. So if you go to page 5, line 10, we've added the director of schools or the director of schools designee. And that's really important. This policy, when we get to these kind of determination of responsibility, is very, very time consuming. And this is something that the director of schools may or may not, in any school system, have adequate time to do and do anything else. I'm just going to be honest with you when we do these investigations. Now, it very well may be that I am the determinator of this, but it could be also that we have to bring in an outside organization or a lawyer or somebody else in the school system to be the determinator of one of these cases. This is a big chunk of federal law. Kelly Kaiser and Doug Moore, I'm sure, is out there too. Can fill you in if you need more details on that, but I can just tell you this is a big chunk of federal law that we're dealing with right now, and it's a very, very, very time-consuming situation when you get into these. So that's just something that we've been sort of directed by attorneys to look at to help bring in other folks that can help with this if we get to this stage. So director or directors designee could be part of this policy.
Question. So we'll, take a vote on those policies before we move to the last one, because that looks like one we need to do all at once.
Correct. This will be
So
first.
this will just be first reading, and this will come back next month, so can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Second, made, all those in favor, say aye.
Okay, thank you. Are you ready?
Ready?
Okay. The next policy is 4.700, and this is one that, it's one of those rare ones we would ask for a first and final reading of policy, because it deals with EOC testing that's happening right now. The State Board of Education voted at a recent meeting to give schools and school systems flexibility as far as percentages of what an EOC, and of course, assessment may count toward a student's grade. And Dr. Elliott and under Joe Barnes and Alma Bryan, Dr. Cars, that went through it, looked at our current information, looked at our current policy, and they are recommending, as you see line 14, that Tennessee T and Ready and EOC scores shall not be included in students' final grades for the 2020-21 school year. With everything that's happening with students being virtual, students being absent, and students just being quarantined, going through isolation stages, a lot of different things are in play this year. And I can let Dr. Elliott, as far as, speak to this if they like to, or you have questions, but it just seems to be the fair thing to do for this term. And then we would have to come back and revisit this policy when we get into next school year to revise this. So that's the recommendation for first and final reading tonight. Any questions? Like I said, we just did that, sorry.
So the final grade is tests during that semester, papers, projects, whatever.
Yes, I know, Dr. Elliott, he's shaking his head yes, but yes. If
No
you do-
final test or nothing.
If you made, because of your coursework, your exams, you've had as part of your class, you make a 93, then a 93 is your grade.
Even if you're in classes that's not required to be in a course, just a regular class of.
You have work, tests and projects that are done through the natural course of the semester, and will be the way that the scores will be figured. They won't be adding that in this year into the formula.
Will there be still end of course tests? They just won't be counted?
That's right, yeah, we'll have and they're starting, they're going on actually now, and we'll continue on. And if, Michael, you can speak to the schedule, I know you're familiar with that.
Yes, they started for the writing test last week, and they have some more at the end of this week, and then we have some makeup scheduled in January. So they would still take them for the data portion, so that we'll have the data that we can look at later. But the proposal is that they wouldn't. Typically, the class grade is the class grade, and then the EOC comes in, and we use that ugly formula on it, and that becomes their final exam grade. But this year, the proposal is just what they make in class, and don't count that EOC score because of what the director's talking about.
What if that score would help their final grade?
Well, part of the issue is going to become, and this is something we haven't mentioned, is getting those scores back. Could be, since we're making up tests in January this year, it could be February, mid-February before we even have a score back. So that is a consideration we've talked about in past years, but
I'm like Don, I sort of wonder, what if a student had not been doing very well, and all of a sudden he understood things and really wanted that end of course test to improve his grade?
Yeah, we talked about this, and we've had this conversation with Ms. O'Brien. She's going to work with her teachers on offering some activities in the finals slots that are normally given that can be there to only enhance and help the grade as an alternative instead of hurting the grade. And so she and her staff are working on that as an alternative to the ELC option this year. So it would be something, an opportunity for them to do some work to help their grade out, not to penalize them.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Any other questions? So what we need is a motion to waive the second reading of this policy and approve this policy. And that can be one motion.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. So did you get that, Julie? Okay, thank you. A second? Nay? Okay, Carol, you one. Use two. All those in favor say aye. Aye. No. Okay, thank you. All right, that's done.
Okay, we'll just keep rolling. Go to strategic plan update. And as you know, we've been taking parts of our strategic plan and updating each time we meet. This time we're meeting and talking about communications. And just a reminder, it's been a book, I know you've seen it. The goal Twin Cities Schools will communicate with all stakeholders and the media through multiple effective and efficient mediums. So some things that we've done, and you're aware of I think most of these, a style guide is now used by our schools and the AOB for general communications and for branding purposes, because that's something that's really important. You know, we're trying to make sure that our brand is effective and in the community, and that's something that's really important. So people know when they see this symbol that some of us are wearing, that's Cleveland. So that's great, and that's just one piece of it, but that is important. We've also updated and changed our communication technology to Realshare. This allows us to both text, call, email, and the cool thing is 24 different languages, and get communication out there to families in the language that they speak. And that's something, again, that's part of our action step, part of our success, how we know we're succeeding if we're able to do those kind of things. And that's important. You know, technology, as you know, assists so much in this. You know, for example, when I go to Argentina, I don't speak Spanish, but I can pull up an app and talk to the Argentine guys and go order meals or whatever the case is. It really helps. And this is just another way that we can make all our families still part of the Cleveland City Schools family, and that's important. A new website through Apogee is now available and viewable in 18 different languages. So you can go to the website and translate that, and that's really simple to do. So,
We got 24 different languages, and at 18, what's the difference there? I mean,
well, that's something I was, either Julie or Dr. Rayford can talk about that, so it's different services.
Yeah, they're one platform, but they are two different services, so the back-end translations are a little bit different. I'm not sure which of the 6 languages are different, but they are the most common. We're covering the ones that our students speak most often.
So the vast majority, almost all of them.
I think all of them.
Well, they offer 24, but we only have 8 different, they choose during online registration what language they want to be communicated with, so we actually only use 8 of those 24 currently, so.
So we'll be there with everybody being able to.
The Cleveland City Schools, we have a new app, and I know that Nate and I talked about the app, and we worked with Julie on making some updates actually to the app to include more information, and that's going to continue to be something that we work through. So if you go to either I don't know anything about Android's store, but I know the Apple store, the Apple App Store, you can just type in Cleveland City Schools, and you'll see the app pull up. It has our symbol, actually. So that's something where I've used our app to figure out what events are happening in school. That's kind of my Sunday routine, is to go through and figure out, hey, at the middle school they're doing this or that, or kind of figure out where my week is going to be as far as evening things go. So that's just another way you can get communications, find menus for schools. They've got ways now they can access their information. So they've got that kind of thing on the app, and that's something that we want to continue to move on. Each school also has a list of interpreters on call for translation services. I know we use those folks at the beginning of the year for registration this year, and it went really well. It was a very smooth process. And, it's taken a few years to iron out some of those things, but it really worked well this year. And we also purchased an app called Talking Points. So teachers, administrators, they contact parents in whatever language they speak. So just finding ways to continue to communicate out and get the good information and good things out of what's happening in the city schools, and to find ways to help families just know what's going on, not just families, but the community know what's going on with the school system.
How many languages do we have interpreters for?
Oh, boy, I don't know the answer to that one off the top of my head. Mrs. Duncan probably would, but we can find out for you. I don't know. I know most of ours are going to be Spanish.
Yeah.
That's the vast majority, but I'm sure we have others as well, but I don't know the exact details.
It's really nice because kids will not have to, parents won't have to rely on the kids to translate for them.
Right,
So they'll get very accurate information.
Sure. There's so many different ways to communicate now. I know, that Translate app sits on my front page of my phone, and it's just really handy when you need it. So that's a communications update, unless you have any questions for us today.
Nate?
Can you talk a little bit about what you guys are doing? And I know you're doing a lot, but just for record's sake, what you guys are doing to promote all of these ways that you're communicating?
Yeah, We do have a communication plan and a communication audit that was done a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and it has certain steps that we're putting into place. Some of that got a little side stuff this year with COVID, and I'm not gonna use COVID as an excuse, but it's one of those things that they got put on the back burner. But we also know it's something we need to continue to work on. Things like the app, you know, we were talking earlier, we know we need to do a better job of communicating out to folks. We have an app. You can download it, you can find out very useful information. I very rarely go to websites anymore. I use apps for just about everything I do. And I know a lot of families are doing that these days. In fact, when you talk to Apogee, the folks that create our website, they'll tell you, websites are kind of not going away, but they're not nearly as popular as they once were, because apps are the future. So these kind of things are things we need to continue to work on. And that's something that I know we'll continue to iron out as we move into this. Julie does a fantastic job working with Cody and making sure that we're getting information out there. But communication is something, you know, you rest on your laurels, you're gonna fall way behind in a hurry. So it's something we're continuing to push on. That's right.
I will also say, so we have the Thrill Share that is communicating out to families. That's something the district or the school wants to push out. And so those are very active forms of communication where the school can get that to them in their language. And then we also have talking points, which is more of the student level, teacher to student one-on-one interactions. That's a very active point too. So those accounts are automatically created based on our PowerSchool database. And so teachers who are set up with accounts and they can begin using that without any intervention on the parent's part. They just start receiving those messages and are able to communicate back. So we have the school district level and also those one-on-one communications with teachers mechanisms in place.
Just remind me, I'm sure we covered this when you did the audit, but what was the primary means by which parents gleaned information? Was it social media? Was it the website?
From what I recall, it's social media. Social media was a driving factor. In fact, when we had the audit done, we didn't even have Facebook, you know, as a school system at that point. So we do now. And I know Julie's communicating out quite a bit on all of those different mediums. And really, we're finding that things like Instagram actually get us more attraction than Facebook or other things. You know, you may not use Instagram, but you put a story at the top, which is good for about 24 hours, and you get a whole lot of clicks. You know, Julie's going out, for example, and going to every school. You want to talk about that? What you doing?
On Wednesday, I have a rotation. I go to every school and take a picture of the kids, and the parents love seeing their kids at school, obviously. You know, if they're doing a program, I try to catch them on that day, and we've done polls on the Instagram. The kids, like the high school kids especially, you know, they'll send messages, and it's a great way to communicate with not just our families, but the community as well.
Yeah. So social media would be, I think, the biggest way. And probably the website, I think, would be second for now. I think the app, if it ever catches on, will be a big thing as well.
I wonder if you might be able to promote the app through the social media links. I know Twitter was huge when I was keeping up with my daughters at the high school.
Right.
And every Twitter message ended with download the app or
Sure.
download the app or something.
That's a great idea.
Any other questions? Okay. We will move on to have a task force.
Yes.
Update over. Dr. Elliott.
All right, good evening. We're here, task force has met throughout this semester, as you recall, and we continue to meet on a regular basis, and then we have sub-teams within it who represent different components of the different areas that we focus on. But just to, we continue to monitor our numbers, our cases in our schools regarding our teachers and staff members who, as you well are aware, for the middle school last week, we went to an at-home learning situation due to some staffing limitations there as far as coming into the school. But our teachers, I went to the middle school today just to walk through and talk to some of those teachers and see what they were doing online. They're very engaged doing the lessons online. It was really encouraging to see. Ask the teachers or students are logging on. They said, like Dr. Dyer said previously, more over the last week than that one day that we did back the 1st of November. And so while it's best to have them in person, I will say hats off to our teachers for the great flexibility and work that they are doing. So that's one of the pieces that we've been working through the last couple of weeks here is really monitoring that at each school, but specifically at Cleveland Middle School. Also, on Friday, the Tennessee Health Department released some information, and Laura Hudson, our coordinator, school health coordinator, gave us the update on Friday that they have updated their guidelines to match CDC as far as quarantine situations there. So they brought that down from that 14-day period to 10 days, you probably are well aware. So we were able to make those adjustments, and that's helped us out on a few occasions already of situations that were already in progress for that. So we're making those updates and following that. One of the aspects of the team, kind of a sub-team of this, an elementary focus, is preparing for that summer intervention plan that we have in the CARES Act funds. We did allocate money for each of our elementary schools to use some funds this summer for a summer intervention program for those students who, as we go through and assess and we get back into the second semester and get more data together, then we'll be able to identify those students and work with those families in providing a summer intervention program. We met last week with a representative from each of the elementary schools and a couple of administrators and some of those who have been involved in summer intervention programs in the past to begin the planning stage, just to say, what does that look like? Let's start exploring and research what kind of curriculum, what kind of structures do we need, and what do we want? So that has begun. The heavy work will be in January, February, and March to put that together so we can really promote that out. So we're excited about that. The middle school and high school already is doing intervention after school programs for credit recovery purposes right now. They have had great attendance. Dr. Lane, assistant principal at Cleveland High School, has been overseeing that with some after-school staff, and they've been doing phenomenal work and bringing those teachers along, or students along, and we'll continue that in the second semester. The middle school is planning for, they have done a 4 Cs program in the past in the summertime, and they are planning a big program with that this summer for their intervention. So that's happening. Another piece is about our virtual school transition to traditional for the semester change. We have been wrapped that up right before Thanksgiving. And here are our numbers that we're looking at Cleveland High School. Currently, we have 77 who are enrolled in virtual classes at Cleveland High School. We have a few more that we're working out, so it could creep up close to 100 students that will remain in virtual classes at Cleveland High School for second semester. Cleveland Middle School, we're looking at around 190 returning to traditional and staying virtual, about 65. There are a few students who were working out trying to get some work completed and that kind of stuff, but we're honing in on those numbers there. 190 returning to traditional and 65 staying virtual. At the elementary level, I appreciate a lot of work that has been going on in all these levels to get these numbers in for us. Elementary, return to traditional, 184 students at the elementary level are planning to return to traditional second semester. 232 students look to remain in virtual. So we're about, about the same at the elementary level when you add the 2 high school and middle school numbers up, very close in the way that broke down. So we're encouraged to see these students back in person, and we're excited to be able to do that. Looking forward to having them back. January the 5th will be the first day that they start back in person. Our staff have been notified. I know at the elementary level, we had 18 teachers who were working in a virtual setting throughout this semester. We have 5 of those teachers who will be returning, making the crossover back from virtual back to recover us in the traditional setting at different elementary schools. So a lot of work's been going on in the Human Resources Department regarding this at each of our schools, and our BLADE facilitators at each of these levels who've really championed the virtual calls. So I appreciate all the work that they've been doing throughout the semester. The last couple of things I just wanted to bring up is November the 2nd, we did have an at-home learning day for everybody, and it was really good to get feedback. We did a survey with our parents, we did a survey with our staff, and we asked, what were the things that were positive and a successful experience for you during that day, and what were the challenges, and what were the frustrations. And I appreciate the honesty from both sides, and it really gave us insight to that. We know that there were some, of course, technical frustrations that came with that, but there were also some technology successes that came with that. Also, we had, like for breakfast and lunch pickup, the time at the school, if they needed to come. We reflected on the feedback we got, and we've made adjustments for the future to offer a longer time or utilize our buses a little bit more and that kind of stuff. So we appreciate the feedback that we've received and are looking at that the best way to make adjustments as we move forward. The final thing I'd like to bring to the group tonight is the reopening task force. Administrators today has reviewed a lot of information, a lot of data, and we've been watching this throughout the last few days since Thanksgiving return. Our numbers, as you know, in our county have been pretty high. We've also been monitoring staffing situations and also confirmed cases. As of this morning, we had 36 confirmed cases, active cases between all of our schools, and then this afternoon we had 11 more confirmed cases added, which put that around 47 or so, looking at that. So we continue to monitor that. Also, our need for substitute teachers and assistants right now is kind of limited ourselves as far as getting those in over the next few days coming ahead. We started looking a little bit more deeper into that. We were also talking about reflecting, like I said, from the input we had from that survey about computer and technology access, and note that we just wanted to note that our high school students do have those devices. The middle school devices, as much as we would love to have those, they're on their way soon. We don't have them quite yet, but we're looking to get those. And then we put an order in for Chromebooks for our elementary folks a while back, and we continue to seek those. But and one other thing we started looking into today said, well, what do we need to do? And so after we took a long, hard look at it, we were recommending and made the decision we needed to move forward next week, the 14th through the 18th, to go to an at-home learning situation across the board in Cleveland City Schools to take care of making sure we're really focused and prepared for that next week, letting our families know in enough time to make some adjustments over the next few days. It also gives our teachers an opportunity to make those transitions and prepare for the list of students that they know that will not be able to do the technology, to give them some solid instructional resources in their hands before they leave, before the week is over. So we made that decision as the day went along today to make that recommendation for December the 14th to the 18th. A couple of things about meals, though, that will be affected by that is that meals will be provided, delivered through a bus stop situation starting on Monday and also on Wednesday. So we're going to do 2 days of bus routes, and buses following the traditional bus routes throughout their regular routes. They'll deliver meals to each of our school communities at 10 a.m. or around 10 a.m. on both of those days. But we also will make meals available between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. for families who want to come to a school close to their community. So Blythe Bower, Candies Creek, Cherokee, Cleveland High, Mayfield, and Yates will be those pickup areas. So if the bus comes by and for some reason they're not available at the bus route time, their family could go up to the school between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. and get a lunch. That was one thing. And the lunches will be provided and breakfast will be provided for multiple days, for a couple of days at least. So on Monday to get them through to Wednesday, and then Wednesday through the rest of the week of next week, the 14th and the 18th. We were also in contact with the Y today. Our after-school Y care will not take place at the elementary schools, but there will be some slots for, they can talk, a family who might need some care next week for their child, they can coordinate that with a YMCA and contact the YMCA for that. So we know it's a tough situation right now going on with everything and hard decisions, but this is the decision we thought was where we needed to go for next week.
Something I would mention with the meals, just to put it on public record, it is part of the message that goes out and has gone out and everything, but meals are available for any child age 0 to 18. So that's really important, you know, that if family has a kindergartner at Yates, but they have a 3-year-old, both could receive meals at the bus stop or coming to Yates to get food. So that's something that's really important for everyone to understand and know.
So they don't have to be enrolled in that particular school because you didn't list all the schools.
That's right.
obviously. Yeah, they can just go to any of those that you named.
Any of those schools.
It doesn't matter if their student is enrolled there and they can pick up there.
You said 0 to 18, you know, you have some seniors in school that are 19.
Yeah, that's just federal law, and I hate
They don't
that.
get a meal, even though do they get the meal at school if they were in school?
It's, in school is one thing, but when we got, it's the.
If they're one of our
policy for-
students,
Yeah,
they'll get a meal.
yeah,
If
yes,
they're
yes.
one of our students,
Yes,
that's what I
yes,
meant.
I'm sorry, I missed that part. They're one of our students, yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but if they're, yeah, you're right.
Not just anybody.
Right. Yeah, make sure that's clear. Good question.
We had 20-year-old Brad.
Right, yeah. Well, the students can be in school at 21,
That's right.
you know, for special education purposes.
Regarding the feedback that you mentioned, that you received, did you see anything regarding lack of internet access as a issue there? And if so,
And- Go ahead.
how are we helping resolve that?
I'm gonna,
I'm just speaking specifically about internet access, because other than the actual technology.
Dr. you want to talk about that first, and we can
Sure.
go around now.
We've done several different surveys, we've sent them out. It's hard to get reliable data because the people that take the surveys typically would have internet access, but we estimate that around 20% of our students may struggle to have internet access in their home outside of a cell phone. And so we've had hotspots available in the past, and we've bought more hotspots available this year for at-home learning and those kind of things. Now, they're not gonna cover whenever we send everybody home. But we do have those in place, and we spent some money that the federal government or state government gave us this year to buy even more hotspots. So we have about, I think, 50 or 60 hotspots in the district now.
So those can be checked out like a library book and taken home, but that's not gonna get us to the 20% level. I can tell you from just the calls I have with the State Department and the meetings we have with superintendents, everybody is pushing for internet services. A lot of times, it gets caught up in the rural movement. Rural Tennessee definitely, you know, if you go to, you go to Meigs County, a majority of the districts out there, they don't have cell phone service, much less Wi-Fi or internet, and that's a big problem. But I always remind people in cities, you know, whether you're in my hometown Jackson, Tennessee, or you're in Cleveland, Tennessee, there's a lot of internet deserts as well. And that's something that we need to really push, and I am from my angle. But that's something that's difficult because, you know, the grants we get won't allow us necessarily to pay for internet to go to someone's house and things like that. So it's very difficult to help with some of those situations. That's a problem.
So, I know that some schools are doing internet in the parking lots. Are we
Right.
doing that?
We are.
Yeah,
We'll talk about that.
So Cleveland Middle School and Blythe Bauer currently have Wi-Fi in the parking lots available. We have a purchase order through, and they've started the installation to put it at every other side of Cleveland City School.
Right. And as well as the Chamber of Commerce has it, so that's something else. So we are definitely moving that direction, so if they want to, they can either walk to a school, and that's not ideal, right, to sit out, you know, under the cover, unless it's a nice day. Now, today would be a great day for that, but a family could potentially drive up to one of those sites and have internet service for an hour if they needed to do some work or whatever. Now, they have to have a device from our system, that's the other part of that. Once we get all those sorted out, that will be really nice, but that's part of it.
So those that don't have devices and they have to do virtual learning, they can't do anything.
The hotspots they can connect to. We are not locking those down to our devices or anything. It's just our corporate network that it has to be a CCS. There you go.
And then if they don't have the access, they get a packet
Yes,
from their teacher.
they receive a packet from the teachers, and the teachers, based off of survey done on August the 6th at the beginning of the year, and then also on November the 2nd experience, the teachers are getting more familiar with who needs those packets and being able to do that. By us making this an announcement today, our teachers will have a few days here to get that out and get that prepared. That was one of the feedbacks from the teachers that said if we can give them a little bit extra time, they would appreciate it. And we said, well, we'll try as much as we can. Some of the situations that arise, of course, we're limited on that as far as time, but as much as we can, we'll try to give our staff a heads up.
I have one follow-up. So we talked about a lot of information. So if someone wants to get this information right here that we're talking about to find out where the hotspots are, how they can overcome these challenges, where do they go?
It's on the COVID website. So Julie, remind me the link, city/.
Well, if you go to clevelandschools.org, just our website, and then you click on menu, there's a back to school 2021 page. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see the CCS parking lot Wi-Fi access, and that's information on it.
We also have the information, we've sent this out multiple times, about the free and low cost internet options that AT&T and Charter provide.
Right.
That their mileage may vary, but
Information that can help them. How do you check out is it MiFi?
we call them Khajiits. and they also
Khajiit,
built
how
in.
can you check out a Khajiit? How can you do this? So we can put that on the one pager and put it as part of the packet, and that's something we can help get information
That
out.
go on our app?
Oh, yes. Yes. And we are gonna be hitting social media hard the rest of the week, make sure we're communicating about meals and all those kind of things. So, we're gonna be doing a lot of communicating out this week.
I'm wondering if maybe just for times when we go to all at-home learning, if there's a way we can have a banner or something or a special page on the website that's a little bit easier to identify, because intuitively, I wouldn't look at back to school.
Right.
I would think that would be for the beginning of school.
Sure.
So if there's something really clearly labeled as at-home learning
Right.
information.
We put it on the
where you
homepage.
can
That's easy enough
dump
to do.
everything.
That's easy enough to do.
Could we not have a hotspot inside the school where it's warm and we have computer access? If we
Well,
don't have it?
You could, but then you do somewhat get into while we're closing, put distance between students and folks for that week. Because the teachers are gonna be teaching.
A maximum number that they could take them, because we just have so many computers available.
They should be able to sit in their cars.
What?
Without being outside, they should be able to get internet access with inside of their cars.
If they have a computer.
What's the timeline for having a hotspot at every school? You know that?
At the end of last week, they had installed it at 2 to 3 more schools. I do not have that information, and I think I can get it for you. I'll let the installation.
So what schools is it at?
It's currently active at Blythe and Blythe Tower and Cleveland Middle, and they've installed it at 2 to 3 more schools. I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
We can get that on our homepage. We can also put it on one page we put out there. Because Chamber of Commerce also installed it for students or folks to be able to use their office complex, which is sort of simple. So,
I may have kind of a stupid question, but when you have two kids and you have one computer and they're watching a class, is the class just going on at the same time, or can they replay it later so they can both get access?
So the way the Google Meets are happening, they're not recorded for later, and that can also get into some FERPA issues as well. So they're joining the live class to watch it back when it's happening.
That's difficult for parents to say, okay, who's going to get to watch their class today?
Sure.
I wish you could come up with some kind of an answer for that.
well, you can access it through phones, iPads, whatever the case may be. We understand. None of this is easy. There's not answers for everything. I wish there was. I'm not trying to make light of it at all, because it is difficult. Every school system in America put in thousands of orders for Chromebooks, and that's what's caused where we are right now. Ours went in June. Here we are in December. We still can't tell you when those Chromebooks for elementary are going to be delivered. I mean, that's just it's unfortunate. It's frustrating, and the vendor's frustrated. We back when they were first talking about this, we were dealing with Representative Daniel Lay's office. I mean, we tried every stone we could overturn in order to get laptops here. I mean, we had calls with senators' offices, and it's just they're not there. We can't go to Best Buy and buy 1,500 computers, that's the issue, have vendors we use.
Stock is coming back in.
Very good.
Large retailers do have them back in stock. Vendors tend to prioritize based on the number you order.
Right.
So Walmart, who's ordering 200,000 devices, is getting prioritized above a local vendor themselves.
Thinking about Cleveland, have we considered partnering with other entities in town that may already have internet access? Considering next week we're going fully virtual.
Right. We had a movement during the first part of the Blade project to come up with some vendors that can put our symbol on their door. We find out a lot of people don't want to do that. And it's company policy, certain places where we go, their national policy is they won't let us put that out there in public. I guess if you went in and bought a food product from their, well, now you can go inside and like the restaurant, that's a problem too. But we ran into problems with their internal policies in some of the places, but that's something we put another push in and really try to do that some more. But we did that at some places and then we found out there's a lot of resistance. They didn't want students just hanging out.
Does the public library have the broadband? Can you sit in the, parking lot of the public library and use their Wi-Fi?
I don't know. I
I
know
know you can use their
closed for a while,
computers,
but
they're back open.
they're back open.
Jan,
Yeah,
would you reiterate one more time, just for people who have asked, why we are not going at home school learning like tomorrow or the next day instead of next week? I'm glad you brought that out, but I've had several calls today, this afternoon. Is it bad enough that we need to close like
we've been
tomorrow?
watching our attendance numbers and the attendance numbers over the last couple of weeks, and actually compared to prior to Thanksgiving and now are trending upward as far as absentee rates. So we see that trend occurring right now. We also noticed that last week I didn't mention that, I don't think, but we had 39 isolated or 39 cases last week in 1 week period. But coming out of the Thanksgiving break, being at home, we didn't have as many quarantine because they weren't in the building and close contacts. So we hope that our numbers aren't going to be that high this week, but we will monitor each day this week. And if we have to make calls, we'll make adjustments as we've done throughout this semester. But understanding where those numbers might go, the information we're showing is we really wanted to guard against that moving forward next week. And we also want to make sure that we are prepared because we understand like this very discussion about the technology is a concern and for those individuals, and we want to make sure that teachers get the right instructional information, good information in the hands of our students who don't have it. A couple of things I did want to piggyback on to that is that today when I was at middle school, a teacher was in there and they said, and we have a few students who are using a cell phone or an old phone that's hooking up to Wi-Fi and they're able to access and interact with the lesson and those kind of things, but they have the packet too, so that they're listening and hearing. And then also there's a phone number, of course, on the Google Meets that if they don't have it, they can give them the phone number that at least if they have an access to a phone, they can call in and listen, even if they don't have a technology. They can at least audio, listen to it and then use the packet that they have in front of them to make the connection. So our teachers are trying different options here to communicate with our students. But yeah, preparation is an important piece. And we also want to make sure, part of the reason is we also want to make sure the parents have requested if we can give them any alert to preparing for students being at home or whatever the case, they would like that. And so between that and our teachers asking this very same thing, we really wanted to be proactive. We also have at Cleveland Middle School tomorrow through the week, we have 25% of the students coming in. Our staff at Cleveland Middle School we have fewer members over there, but the administration and the teachers have rallied around the concept that, hey, we can maneuver enough teachers to cover smaller groups and make sure we touch base with all and see them face to face this week. And I think by making this decision today, tomorrow, potentially for the first part of that alphabet, that 25%, tomorrow will be the physical last day that the middle school students will be in the building before December the 18th is complete. So the timing of this was important for them to, teachers to have that conversation, face-to-face interaction with those families or students tomorrow.
Thank you so much. I think you all here planning and thinking about all these things is tremendous. And I think for the parents to know, you know, some of the reasoning for why you make the decisions that you do is so important. So thank you for that.
You
What
say,
they're doing, wait, Peggy.
can they get access from any old phone, you said? Any old phone?
My understanding, if it's a Wi-Fi, if they can pick up Wi-Fi, and the tech guys can help me out with this.
They got that.
I'm just wondering if a lot of people don't have old phones, they're not using, if they got a new phone, they've got all of these old phones, first they've got to be able to pay for the internet though.
If they have internet service.
Google Meet is very forgiving on the technology. So if they have a phone, there's a good chance that they're going to be able to get on the Google Meet through the Google Meet app.
Okay.
What you're doing with the next 4 days, I had a lot of positive feedback from teachers when school started. They loved that. Getting only 25% of the kids there.
Middle school.
Yeah, I mean, it was really good. And I know it's probably too late to get a phone. Is that something that I will do next week?
Yeah.
4 days? Or
Well,
is it too late? I
we're
guess?
still worried about, right now, I mean, you're playing the futures market right now. Very much like, and I'm not a big stockbroker, but it's futures market. So if you're buying gas, for example, futures guys, they plan on what it's gonna look like a month from now. That's where we are. You know, the numbers are going up. I mean, you can't deny that. We were at 600 something yesterday. We're at 750 active cases in Bradford County today. I don't know where it's gonna be tomorrow. I don't know exactly where it's gonna be on Friday, but I know from the experts and folks that we're listening to, where you get the facts, we're just now starting to see the Thanksgiving hit. So we have to project out, and we're seeing student absentee numbers go up. We're seeing teachers and staff member numbers go up as far as absenteeism. I've got to project that into next week because we have to make a decision that affects a lot of people and get that word out. So they can tell you, I made them get data together today, and I went in my office and had to really pour over it and look at it and make a call, make a decision, and, you know, look and see where we need to go. And based on what I'm seeing, I think the best decision is moving forward with the plan to go virtual for next week.
Don't worry about January because it's a long time off too.
Right.
Everybody's gonna gather at Christmas time.
Right. I'm not gonna project into January just yet, but that is something that
That's
we will
all.
look at.
That's all.
So,
Nate has a question.
I don't have a question. I was just gonna say, you know, I've asked a lot of questions.
right. That's okay.
But,
All good.
you know, you talked about communication and giving the parents heads up. And as someone that has actually kid in middle school and elementary, I want to say thanks for giving us heads up because that may seem simple, but that gives you the ability to plan ahead and make adjustments that you need to make. And I appreciate that. So, and I'm sure many other parents appreciate that as well. So I want to make sure you knew
I appreciate
that
that.
we do appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I've got one more question, I'm sorry, I have another question. I'm wondering about the people that are not returning to traditional school. If this vaccine comes out and the numbers of infected cases go way down, if there would be a second opportunity for them to come back to real school, traditional school.
Well, our plan is to finish out the year with them in a virtual setting. However, we want to include them in our summer intervention programs that we are planning, like I mentioned earlier. And we want to include them in our look at that because the ones who have chosen to stay virtual, from what we can tell, for the most part, have been successful, you know, in a way. Again, traditional is the best place, but and their choice was going into second semester to do that. So most of our families in that setting are comfortable in staying, I believe, until the end of the semester. But we are looking at offering them access to some of the intervention programs like we would our traditional individuals.
I saw a projection of, news, we believe everything we read in the news, but
but the general public won't be able to get the vaccination.
All the older people, maybe their parents.
And the healthcare providers and the first responders, but school children aren't in that list anymore. But they're not particularly the highest group, but, so we may not realize the benefits of vaccination until next fall. I hope we do. Any other questions, comments? Skylar, what do you think?
Well, to that last point, if grocery store workers are seen that a lot, I can tell you how the vaccination goes. But I personally think that I definitely like where the quarantine happens because we do have that additional Christmas break to like mull over, and we don't have to actually focus on school during that Christmas break either. So I do like that it's like at the very end of the semester and hasn't happened yet. But I personally think that a lot of people want to stay in school, but I've also met a lot of people who want to go virtual, who feel like we need to go virtual. So I personally think that this is the right decision moving forward because I know that one student in particular that I've talked to was very surprised. We went from the 14-day cases to the 10-day cases, and it was just very alarming in the school setting, especially at the high schools.
She and I were speaking before the meeting too, and we said, wouldn't it be a bummer to get quarantined next week from Friday, and here becomes Christmas. And so, the fewer people that can be exposed to the COVID is better for everybody.
And when you look at, the hospital, in the paper, the report was, 2 or 3 beds open last, whenever it was printed. So you've got to look at those factors as well, what's good for the community and general. So, this is a tough decision. I really struggled with it. I really did. And it's hard because families are going to have to get to babysitting and other things. And you have to take that into effect or into a factor. But, safety's got to be the first priority and doing what we feel is the best. So that's what it is.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dr. A lot of information there.
Yes.
We're gonna do the calendar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the first part of the calendar update is a calendar update for the 21-22 school year, next school year. And this comes out of our experience. This is kind of a positive side of the experience of what we've gone through this past summer in preparation for opening school. We had a lot of good feedback from our parents and also from our staff regarding our reconnection days that we did at the beginning of the year. It was a good way to go through procedures and secure those procedures at the beginning of the year to set what our expectations were from a teacher's point of view, smaller numbers to go through that, all the way up the line K-12. So we went back to the calendar and said, how could we do that? We don't believe we could do 4 days, but we brought it down to 3 days of a reconnection to break the alphabet down into a third of the group. And so by making that adjustment, we did make a couple of changes. April 3rd, 4th, and 5th would be a reconnection type of day period with A through F of the alphabet. On the 3rd, G through N, if your last name is G through N, begins with that on the 4th of August, and August the 5th, your last name O through Z, with everybody coming for an abbreviated day on Friday the 6th. There was an amendment to that as far as we bumped the workday from July the 30th to the beginning of the week and put an in-service day on July the 30th. That was the main adjustment. We did make sure that our breaks, such as fall break, spring break, the winter break, and those type of breaks remain the same. And we wanted to make sure that we brought this here to show you what the amendments and adjustments were, but that's what we did there. Okay. That's the 21-22 calendar. And then the 22-23 calendar, for the last few years, we've been coming at this time of the year to bring calendar options for 2 years out, 2 school years out. And this year, we've been working towards the 22-23 school year. The last few weeks, we've been getting feedback from administrators. We sent out a couple of calendar drafts, a draft A and a draft B. I'll go over those in just a second. So we have feedback from our administrators about these 2 calendars. We have feedback from teacher group and school groups represented. And we also had a parent representative group that we sent out a survey form to. And the results we'll go over in a minute. But draft A really looked at starting Convocation Day and kicking off for our teachers. The beginning would go to July the 25th. And then reconnection days, like we talked about, would begin August the 2nd for students with a December the 16th into the first semester. And then students coming back January the 4th and ending the year on May the 19th. The fall breaks is winter breaks and spring breaks fall in our traditional way at the 1st of October, and then right there around the holidays, and then in March, the first full week in March, that's where we've been doing. That is draft A. Draft B, the difference in this is August the 1st is a Convocation Day with a week later start for students starting on August the 8th on a Monday with those reconnection days. That does push us a little bit later into December, the 21st for the semester to end. And then we begin back after in January, and we end basically a week later. May the 26th or May the 25th for students would be the last day for students on that calendar. So those are the two different calendars that we worked through. So the recommendation from each group, the administrator group, the school representative group, and the parent group, all from the survey results came back in response in favor of B, draft B, when that is the one that begins the convocation on August 1st and student day on August the 8th. So the recommendation is that we come with a 2022-2023 calendar for draft B to be the one to go for.
So board, this is our decision to make, and Dr. Elliott shared with us the recommendations and the wishes of those groups, but if we don't like it, we can still do whatever we want. One of my most fun things to do when we visit the school back in the olden days, you remember that?
Yeah.
The children ask you what school board members do, and I always say, well, we set the calendar, we pick your holidays and when you start school, and you know, the kids would like a lot more holidays. But anyway, it's one of our jobs as a school board to choose the calendar. So, would someone like to make a motion?
Move that we accept calendar B.
Okay, motion to accept calendar B. Is there a second?
Second.
David, Peggy, okay. All right, discussion. Any questions?
Jeff, I got one question. It's amazing how many have in the city and county system. As the spring break and the fall breaks, pretty similar. You know, are you still working with the county on that?
Yeah, I communicated with the county and also Polk County to let them know what we were looking at and if they had any feedback. And so we communicate with them. I've let them know, and they said that looked good to them. I'm not sure where they are on their calendar development at this point in time, or where they have set that, but they are aware and have responded back.
I do know that last year.
I do know that I think Polk County might differ on one of our breaks, but I really wanted to work with Bradley County, our community.
Why we communicate with Polk County on it? I mean, that's why we doing that.
Well, I just had that opportunity to do that. They always try to respond and give us feedback on what they're doing, but really our focus has been on Bradley County. Yes.
I really appreciate the calendar B option. Number one, I was looking at the end of the school year in the 2021 is early in May, and then starting later in August is going to give a really nice long summer break. And also that first week in January, I'm always nervous when we start during the first week of January because that's usually when the bad weather hits. Yeah. So I'm glad that calendar B starts that semester later in January.
Yeah.
Anybody else? I like the B option because I don't know, there's just something about not starting until August that is.
That's true.
I don't know, I mean.
It's a psychological thing.
It is very psychological. We're only talking a few days, but still seeing that
Yeah.
August instead of July, I think that's a real morale booster for everybody. not just teachers, but families too, who want to plan summer activities with their children, and maybe we'll be able to go on vacations in the summer, who knows? Any other comments?
But they still get basically the month of June and July, and that's what we did back when we were teaching, you know. We got out usually around the 21st or 2nd of May, and then we had June and July. We started back 1st of August. Well, that's kind of what we were all used to. That was the calendar I liked also, it was big.
I know we get a lot of comments by people that wonder why we don't wait till after Labor Day. But, you know, when my children were in school, even in the 90s, that we didn't have fall break, and we had a break at Christmas, and there was a spring break. But, you know, I think that it's proven that it's good academically to have those breaks interspersed in there.
And Thanksgiving.
Right, for the teachers, but for the students as well. And it seems like we were accused of going to a year-round calendar at the time, but actually that is shown that's effective for students to have those breaks and teachers too. Any more comments, questions? We'll take the vote. All those in favor of option B, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, none opposed. Okay, thank you. Okay, it's your turn, Skylar.
All right, this is covering 2 months, so I apologize if it's a bit long. But, I had the honor recently to open and establish our new STEMulation Center. That's what we're calling it. It's like a little STEM lab. It has 3D printers, it has VR headsets, it has all this amazing stuff. And we introduced that to all the high school teachers. We are hoping to get some students in there and like try kind of integrate STEM into their actual course load. I know that Cleveland High School, and I'm sure you all are aware that we were a STEM designated school in this past year. So this is something that we're doing to move forward with that. Another thing. Yes.
Is that where we put the glass in the library?
Yes. So it's available to all students in
Very
the
nice,
library.
very nice, yeah.
So something else that's happening is, or has just happened, is that our class has actually finished a butterfly mural. And I found that like highly encouraging and positive, and I felt like I needed to mention it because like in the midst of COVID and class cancellations and going virtual and all that good stuff, we really needed that little positivity boost with like a little butterfly mural. In terms of sports, I've had to intermingle sports in here somewhere. The swim team won over Boyd just recently, and the cross country went as the girls team, and Ryan Lovelace and Garrison Rogers went to the state championships. And knowing some of those people on the girls team and knowing Ryan Lovelace and Garrison Rogers, I do know that they did very well. All right, so Ajf Jrotc, I'm sorry. It's a big ol' acronym. They are actually preparing their first Cyber Patriot competition. I know JROTC is a new program, fairly new, happened I think 2 years ago. So they're actually getting into those competitions now, and knowing a lot of the people in our JROTC program, they are very excited to do that. As for theater, we recently did 12 Angry Jurors and Juliet's Ghost. Unfortunately, I did not see Juliet's Ghost because it was the first day that they got canceled. But 12 Angry Jurors was extremely amazing. And we actually had 2 induction ceremonies recently, one for National Honor Society and one for Science National Honor Society. National Honor Society, we inducted 26 new members into that club. So that's actually a national organization, so that's pretty impressive, actually. And then for our Science National Honor Society, we inducted 13 new members, and we had only about 8 returning, so we actually had more new members than actual returning members. Some people that I'd like to recognize are the people who won our Daughters of American Revolution Youth Citizenship Award. Those people are Leah Hargis, Angela Davis, and Noah Harrell. I don't know Angela Davis or Noah, but I do know Leah Hargis, and she is definitely deserving of that award. And also something that's exciting is our Capstone Presentations. Now, Capstone is a new class at Cleveland High School. It's basically the senior students get to choose a specific project that they get to focus on for 56 hours within this semester. And we recently started our presentations to anyone who would like to join, including teachers, including the actual class itself. And a couple I'd like to recognize are our Yearbook Committee, because there's actually only 2 members on it this year, Lauren Baker and Victoria Thomas. And then someone that I'd also like to recognize is someone who's working very closely with our special ed department named Abigail Medina. And my final and highlight of my presentation is that I had a very, very good school lunch today. Lo mein with teriyaki beef. I know, it's so fancy. I know that was a bit longer than what I usually do, but there's a lot of good stuff going on at the high school right now.
Anybody have any questions?
Can I ask you about the swim meet again? Who did you say Cleveland
Over Boyd.
Boyd Buchanan? Do they have was that meet held here in Cleveland, or you might not even know, or do they have a pool of their own?
I'm not quite sure. I'm pretty sure it was here in Cleveland.
Yeah,
but
I don't think Floyd has this.
I don't either, and my daughter teaches there, I guess I should know, but I don't, so, yeah, I need,
Yeah, what I've heard, it was here, so.
yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, side committee report, Charlie.
Kelly, is Hal still out there in case we got any questions? Last week, we had a very good meeting with all the board members there. There's SI committee, which is comprised of Krista, Carolyn, and myself. We made a motion. We'd like to recommend we approve the canopies for the Candies Creek Cherokee, Cleveland High School, Stewart, and Mayfield. And it was unanimous on our SI committee. And what Ms. Robinson told me, we don't need a second, but I need to open it. If there's any discussion about it, questions anybody has about the canopies. Do I do the vote?
Yes, sir.
All in favor of approving those canopies in the 4 different schools, please say aye. Aye. Unanimous. The second thing is the SI committee approved. Presalia Croft talked to us, and we decided we were going to approve the basketball court outdoors at Blythe Bower Elementary. And they know they're raising the funds on it, and Hal's worked with them and got some pretty good plans for them. So does anybody have any discussion about, that's our recommendation for the basketball court at Blythe Bower? Any questions, discussion? Madam Chairman, I recommend we approve that. So we'll take a vote. Everybody in favor of the outdoor basketball court at Blythe Avenue, please say aye. Aye. Approved. No questions, Hal.
Anything else, Charlie?
That's all we got. And Hal is still doing some research on this, the 1.7 down there for Lee, and he's getting some information on that. Should have it by January, Hal.
Yeah, we'll have that by January.
That's all I got.
I posted on Facebook the article from the banner about the land and got only positive responses, so maybe that's a good sign. Okay, so we'll talk about that in January.
Yes, right now.
Right, and then Brian sent the takeouts for the, or the information on
the
the.
cost estimates on each, the canopies at the school. You should have got it today.
Yeah.
I think the total was 342, I believe.
And the services for the buildings.
Right.
As far as the-
Yeah, is that a voting item tonight?
So,
Is that a voting item tonight? The services?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
The services, is
We
that,
need to add that.
I think if we add that, then he can go ahead and get started, if that's possible.
Okay, so what do we need to make that, if that's something we need to?
That's motion, right?
that's community tectonics is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
There
that'll
was
have
like 3 different items, I think, on it.
Well, it was for going ahead and looking at the sewer at the high school, the Denning Center, and then eventually the comparison. It's not the community tectonics yet. It's doing some initial things with the Denning Center and the sewer, so that we would go ahead and get those in place in case there's an issue and we have to move quickly.
Yeah, so that was about, it was $8,000 plus $12,000, wasn't it?
Right, and then there's a $15,000 analysis on the
Not to exceed that, too.
Not, well, that would go towards a project if you decided to do some kind of project with the AOB.
That clear for everybody?
So it's not, those three items did not include that grand plan.
No.
That, but that 15,000 might be applied to that. Is
The
that-
15,000, if you decide to do something with the AOB, whether you do it at the Denning Center or somewhere else, I believe that would apply towards any project you did in the future with the AOB.
Nate?
So the total is still under the budget or the money's available, right?
For the canopies?
Yeah.
Yes, it's 342, I think.
But I mean, even with the services.
With the.
Yeah, with service.
Services are separate,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, anything left over from the canopies was gonna be applied to the chiller.
To the
then?
chiller,
chiller.
that's correct.
That's a separate.
So this money we're talking about wouldn't come from that 400,000, that would
No.
come from just,
General fund
General
or
fund.
sales tax.
okay, or sales tax. Okay, so we would need a board motion and second on that, because the site committee didn't make a recommendation on that one. Nate?
I move that we move forward with the proposals for the total of $35,000 for services.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay, Charlie, second. Any other questions about that or discussions? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye, none opposed. Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for grabbing that. Dr. Doug, you got anything else?
I do not, that's it.
Well, everybody, I guess this is our Christmas meeting, so Merry Christmas and, thank you for being here. We will adjourn by general consent. And I hope y'all have a great holiday season. And I hope our teachers and
Yes.
administrators and all of you that work so hard, thank you so much. And we hope you have a restful holiday season.
Did you remember the January meeting?
Oh, we did, the January meeting is changed to the 11th instead of the 4th. And that's probably better because I think everybody returns on the 4th.
It's
That'll give everybody
That works
more
out really
time
well.
to assess what's going on and have information for us on the 11th. So make sure to make that change. Anything else, Dr.
That's it.
Just-
All right.
Did you mention that? I'm just.
I was just passing it. That's the award to Cleveland City Schools for Candy Street Cherokee for upland design. It's pretty.
TSB award.
I'm glad they got recognized for that. Awards. That's it.